scan it. Open. I can put an email that I have. We're gonna get that.
We'll get the schedule.
Cool. Hi. Do we have to schedule a tour to get one? Or-
If you want to see the tour, we can do it
Oh,
now.
yeah, great.
It's going to be a guided tour, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. If you just want to sanitize your hands and sign in right here.
Ah, okay.
Sorry? Where are you from?
Oh, we're from the area.
Oh, nice.
Where are you from?
So were you familiar with the museum here or did you just pass
We've
by?
Just pass by.
Yeah. We've just been walking around Hollywood, and I mean, I have interest in learning about Scientology and the ideals because I don't know a lot from people from Scientology. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the best way to learn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I'll just take your temperature.
oh,
But you don't have any symptoms of illness or have been around anybody
not
else?
currently, no.
Okay, perfect. we just still do that just because we have visitors
Yeah,
from
of
all
course,
over the
that
world.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the hub, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
cool.
That's right. Okay, perfect. So your name is
John.
John and you're
Eric.
Eric. Okay, cool. Okay, good. Okay, perfect. So, have you ever read any of Aaron Hubbard's books?
Not really, but I'm like
not
vaguely
books.
familiar with.
I've seen some pamphlets and stuff, but I haven't seen like a book itself.
Okay.
I know a few people who have read some of his.
Oh, that's cool. Do you know which books?
Not off the top of my head now.
Like maybe you've heard of Dianetics?
Yeah, I've heard of Dianetics.
You've heard of
That's
Dianetics,
probably
yeah?
the one I know the most about. Still not a lot.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start over there.
Okay.
First, this here is actually as you wish.
Yeah. It's a good quote. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this is from an article called My Philosophy,
Uh-huh.
which was written in 1965
Uh-huh.
about his philosophy. And so he was actually always, he would always share his knowledge, and he's now actually the most published author in the world. We have over 3,000 recorded lectures, we have over 1,000 published works, which is, it's all there and it's all available. Yeah. Have you ever,
Impressive.
you've seen churches of Scientology around?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I've
we've
seen
seen a
that.
few around the area.
Yeah.
There's the other one.
The Celebrity Center.
Yeah, the Celebrity
Yeah?
Center.
Do you live like here in the area, in the
Yeah,
Hollywood
we live
area?
not in the Hollywood area, but over the hill.
Oh, okay, nice.
Near the valley, yeah.
That's like North Hollywood?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah. There's actually one in the valley as well.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one in North Hollywood. There's obviously the Celebrity Center on Franklin, then there's a big one on Sunset Boulevard. I don't know if you've seen that one before.
I think I have.
It's a big blue one.
Is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. Is it more like a bookstore?
That one is like, it's very big. It's like literally an entire block.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean they're expensive, obviously.
That one is very big because it also has a continental management and it has different organizations that are all in that location. So it just became very big.
Yeah.
And then this here is the only museum about L. Ron Hubbard in the whole world as such. Because he himself actually did a lot. Like you can always hear about Scientology, you hear different things on the media, but then like, yeah.
When did this building open?
Okay, the building itself is from 1924. It's actually it's 99 years old now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. And then we bought the building in 1988. And it's Church of Scientology International. So upstairs we have offices and the first floor is a museum.
Okay.
Yeah. So the museum has been here since 91. And then here
The
you
art
see.
is incredible. Yeah.
Actually, are you artists?
I'd like to be.
You'd like to be?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the architecture's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was admiring that on the way in.
Yes. It's it's all gold leaf. It was all restored when we first bought the building.
Cool.
Yes.
It's really intricate.
And then here you see a whole biography series of his different professions. So he was very active in
Very
many different
well-rounded.
fields. Like he was a pilot, he was an explorer, he was very well known as an author. Actually first fiction and then later his non-fiction. And then he
Is
was
this
a musician.
is that a metaphor, or is he actually a drug activist?
He developed a drug rehab program.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Which we now have centers around the world.
Wow.
He did a lot of research. Obviously, during the 70s, it became a thing where drugs, like people had been taking drugs, and he saw how it affects your body and your mind. Even after you've taken the drugs, it still affects you.
Did he connect it at all to like his spirituality?
No.
No.
It's funny that you ask because he obviously.
Because I see that in a lot of religions and spiritualities.
What kind of religions?
Like.
Like Hinduism.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, drugs and Hinduism are linked, stuff like that, you know.
Okay.
A lot of more like Asian.
East Asian
yeah.
stuff.
It's actually funny because he himself traveled a lot as a teenager in Asia and on the Pacific Islands, and he saw how some drugs are being used, but he also saw how there's more to life than the drugs, and there's
of
actually
course.
something that like beyond the drugs. You as a spirit, you can actually do a lot without the drugs.
Yeah.
So it goes a lot into like the issues that we have with this drug society. Okay, so he actually wrote several articles on that subject. It's also, the thing is, like, just for example, like LSD, for example, was originally developed by a psychiatrist as a medical drug. Now it is a street drug. It is a mind-altering drug, but it can, like, those drugs can be used and are being used in today's marketing society to push it on people, which actually lowers their abilities.
Yeah.
So.
Totally.
He has several articles about that on drug addiction.
I like the art. Is this his work? Does he do the illustration?
No, that was somebody else. That was done later. And then he developed this whole detox program. We call it the purification program, which we now do in the Church of Scientology, which is to detox the body from anything you accumulated in your body. So the whole program, let's see. I think it's explained somewhere how it works. But it literally goes into like all kinds of chemicals, not just drugs, but like industrial chemicals, agricultural chemicals. Like just imagine working on a field and having all the pesticides getting into your body every single day. Perfumes and fragrances.
Interesting.
Preservatives. All of that. Even radiation. I mean, you're out in the sun.
What's the process to purify yourself?
So when you do that program, you go running, you take vitamins. There's one specific vitamin called niacin. It's a B vitamin that specifically detoxes the body. And then you eat good food, good oils. The chemicals accumulate in your fat tissue. So you take good oils to replace the bad fat tissue. And the whole process, you do it every day for a few weeks. And you go through it, you increase the vitamins.
Yeah.
And you get reactions from that. Like you're sitting in the sun and you have reactions from those chemicals coming out.
Yeah.
And so at some point you don't have the reactions anymore, and that's when it's all out.
Really interesting. It's super cool.
It's a very
It's a good way to go about it.
that's the niacin. That's that vitamin that we use in the detox. And like this program, for example, we use it in Scientology, but even like let's say after 9/11, a lot of the firefighters who were there went through that program because they got all these chemicals into their body.
Yeah.
Or in Vietnam, we have these detox programs to help people getting off the chemicals that they have accumulated in their body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Probably necessary.
Anyway, so that's just one
Interesting.
aspect.
Can I take a photo of the ceiling?
Yeah, sure.
And how long have you yourself been a Scientologist?
So my parents are Scientologists,
Okay.
so I learned from them.
Yeah.
But I read Dianetics actually as a teenager. And I did the Dianetics therapy that he explains in the book.
Yeah.
And that's really when I started becoming a Scientologist.
Yeah, because that's the main book, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So the first thing, I actually want to show you a video. I just have to change the language because we just had a Spanish tour.
Yeah, cool.
If you don't mind, I'll be back
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, of course. No
Yeah?
worries.
Okay.
This is super
No, it's cool. Wow. There's a plane. There's a model plane up there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the museum.
Me too. This is cool. I like this leaf platter.
Yeah.
Musical program. That's cool.
So what do you do? Are you students or?
Yeah,
we're-
I'm in high school.
I'm in college.
Okay. What do you study?
Not sure yet.
Okay.
Undecided.
What direction do you want to go into?
You know, maybe like philosophy and psychology, which I think fits into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You would like Dianetics.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
I have interest in reading it.
You're gonna learn more about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Wow, this is cool.
Yeah. So the first thing that I want to show you is a little biography video that's gonna cover his life. So you're gonna see that, and then I'll show you through the displays.
Great.
Do you often come to Hollywood?
Not generally. It's more of like a once every 2 months activity.
Okay. And then just to like explore.
Yeah. I mean, there's like always something new here, so
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
He was born Lafayette Ronald Hubbard on March 13, 1911 in Tilden, Nebraska. He spent his formative years in a rough and tumble Helena, Montana, where he rode barely broken range broncs at the age of 3.5. As his mother was that rarity of her time, a thoroughly educated woman, he was also reading well beyond his years, philosophy, science, and the pillars of Western literature, all in an effort to satisfy a rare and abiding curiosity. As his father was a United States naval officer, he was further afforded a then rare opportunity to travel, crisscrossing America's diverse communities in the teens of the 20th century. At the age of 12, he entered the Boy Scouts, first leading his troop to victory in a regional scout advancement competition, then representing scouting to United States President Calvin Coolidge. But it was his 21 merit badges that most distinguished L. Ron Hubbard at this juncture of his life. For just days beyond his 13th birthday, he became the youngest Eagle Scout in American history. It was another distinction entirely, however, that set him on the first leg of his life's course. Specifically, when an American naval officer who had studied under Sigmund Freud introduced young L. Ron Hubbard to the theories of psychoanalysis. Although left with many unanswered questions, here was the moment when his enduring interest in unraveling the mysteries of the human mind was born. His father's naval career provided the next avenue of inquiry, in particular, a Far East assignment allowing the 16-year-old L. Ron Hubbard a chance to visit Asia. It was land still steeped in mystery and rarely seen by Westerners, yet pursuing very fundamental questions on the origins of man and the ultimate source of life, he trekked more than 250,000 miles through India, China, Japan, and the Philippines, into many remote cultures and much arcane wisdom, including Vedic hymns at the root of mankind's oldest beliefs. It was also through these travels he gained entrance to forbidden Buddhist lamaseries in China's western hills, and there witnessed wonders beyond any known scientific explanation. Shortly after his return to the United States in 1929, he entered George Washington University as an engineering student. It was a rigorous curriculum of scientific methodology, the very tools he needed to examine human thinking with unerring accuracy. Here, too, was one of America's earliest classes on nuclear physics, through which he embarked on yet another investigatory trail. This one to isolate a postulated life source, theoretically detectable in small energy particles. Yet laboratory experimentation was by no means all that occupied his university days. Beginning in June of 1932, he organized the first of several expeditions to remote and primitive lands. Initially, a 5,000-mile voyage into the Caribbean, where he mingled with the people predating Columbus by at least 10 centuries. Next came Puerto Rico, where he not only conducted one of the island's first complete mineralogical surveys, but also studied yet another ancient culture, deep within the hinterland. Then, taking his thirst for adventure to the skies, he became America's 385th licensed glider pilot. Heralded by newspapers of the day as Flash Hubbard for his aerial antics. While as a barnstorming sensation of powered flight across rural America, he mixed with still another slice of society. Then, leaving university in the depths of the Great Depression, he began his career as a professional author, turning his true-to-life exploits into high-action tales for magazines of the day. Tales of adventure, tales of intrigue, science fiction, fantasies, westerns, and even the occasional romance. As an undisputed legend of American pulp fiction, L. Ron Hubbard wrote it all. Indeed, with more than 300 novels and novelettes to his credit, so prodigious was his output, he was eventually authoring stories under 15 pen names, and so filling whole magazines with his work. He was also scripting matinee blockbusters for Hollywood, and otherwise leaving an indelible stamp as an author whose career would span 50 years. Then, just as exploits fueled story ideas, so his stories funded still more exploration, until he was regularly crisscrossing the country to live extreme adventures and mix with people as far afield as Native American tribes along the Alaskan Panhandle. In recognition of discoveries in the field, he was further honored with a place in the prestigious and invitation-only Explorers Club, and so went on to captain expeditions beneath 3 club flags. But the real point of such adventures was the fact he was mixing with life to fathom life. The first decisive breakthrough came in 1937, when he isolated the single common denominator between all living things, a dynamic principle of existence. It was recorded in a manuscript entitled Excalibur, and presented the basis for all future research into the mind and source of life. But then came an interruption to that research, the Second World War. As he had since earned a rare Master Mariner's license to captain any vessel in any ocean, he received numerous recommendations for commission as a naval officer. In particular, he was described discreet, loyal, honest, and without peer in the art of getting things done. So it was, Lieutenant L. Ron Hubbard commanded warships in both the Atlantic and Pacific. He was highly decorated for duties under fire, and aided his service in a military hospital where he was treated for wounds suffered in combat. But that's also where he embarked on his final road of discovery. Working with injured servicemen who had failed to recover despite intensive medical care, he began employing all he had learned through the previous decades, spiritual principles from the East, as well as scientific methodologies from the West. What he then discovered were mental factors inhibiting recovery and preventing medicines from taking effect. And when in fact those mental blocks were addressed, the medicine began to work, and patients swiftly returned to health. He then continued refining procedures on people from all walks of life, actors and writers in Hollywood's film community, street gang members whom he treated as a special officer with the LAPD, even deeply troubled patients at a Georgia institution. And so it was, having developed a workable technology of the mind, he authored a definitive text on the subject, a work detailing all underlying theory, discoveries, and techniques. That book was Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, published on May 9, 1950. It sparked a storm of popular enthusiasm and immediately hit the New York Times bestseller list for 26 consecutive weeks. As such, it was the biggest selling book on the mind ever written, and remains so today. Contained within was the discovery of the reactive mind, the hidden source of nightmares, unreasonable fears, upsets, and insecurity. Yet L. Ron Hubbard never considered Dianetics an end to his research, but rather a stepping stone to the discovery and isolation of that long elusive life source. And indeed, the techniques of Dianetics provided the means by which practitioners soon began discovering past lives. Pressing application and research even further came the accomplishment of what is known as exteriorization, demonstrating the spirit was indeed separable from the body and mind. The Scientology religion was born. Thereafter, L. Ron Hubbard delved ever deeper into the spiritual nature of man, documenting his discoveries in thousands of recorded lectures, articles, and books. While to present those discoveries, he literally circumnavigated the globe, and so churches of Scientology opened on 4 continents, headquartered at his long-term residence in southern England. Through ensuing years, L. Ron Hubbard continued advancing the subject until his passing in 1986. His legacy comprises tens of millions of published words and 3,000 recorded lectures, while with over 250 million copies of his books and lectures in circulation, he has inspired a movement spanning all continents and all cultures. So to those who would ask, what kind of man could have founded the only major religion of the 20th century? The answer is simple enough. A man who lived life from the top down and the bottom up. A man who had seen much wisdom and great suffering. A man who spent a quarter of a century bridging the gap between East and West, science and religion. A man such as L. Ron Hubbard.
Definitely accomplished more than most people do.
He had a very full life,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Any
good.
questions from that?
No, I think it was pretty informative.
Okay, good. So yeah, his full name is Lafayette Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, I was always wondering what the L stood for, and no one ever called him Lafayette.
So his grandfather's name was also Lafayette, so he was always Ron.
Ah, yeah.
And then he became known as L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah.
Cool.
He actually grew up a lot with his grandfather. His father was in the Navy, right? So the family was traveling a lot, and his grandfather had a horse ranch in Montana, so he spent a lot of time in Montana, but then was also traveling a lot with his family.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, you see me in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah. No, that's cool. He literally did know exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He was super active, which it was a really good preparation for his later travels and expeditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Start him young.
Yes. And this is the first full-length novel that he wrote. He was 26 when he wrote it. It's a historic novel that plays in the culture of the Blackfeet Indians in Montana. And he grew up in Montana, so growing up there, he got to meet them. And it really is a book that shows them the way, it shows them as the culture, as the heroes, as a very, very powerful spiritual people with their pride and their values. Very different to most books written about the Native Americans during that time period. During that time period, it was they still had this thing of like the white ones are the cultured race, and the natives are the barbarians. So they actually really appreciated the book, and you see all these artifacts. Those are original items from the Blackfeet.
Yeah, and I'm assuming they were donated. Yeah, cool. So obviously he has respect for that.
And still now we have this connection. We still have this line with the Blackfeet, like this medicine man from the Blackfeet from Montana. He drove all the way from Montana to LA a few months ago, and he did a ceremony here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's the Blackfeet here.
Yeah.
And then those are all the 21 different cultures he studied before he was 30 years old.
And he traveled to all of these places, I'm
That's
assuming?
right, exactly. It was always
impressive.
studied through experience by actually being there. Like, it's a very nice quote here.
Yeah.
Totally true.
Yes. And then down here, that's some of the photos he took when he was traveling.
Wow.
So he was always a photographer. He started photography with the Boy Scouts. He had a camera as a young boy. And then as he was traveling in Asia, he had a camera and he would take photos. And then some of those photos, for example, were published in National Geographic. Like this one became very famous.
Yeah, that's an incredible picture.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Also here, this is all his travels before he was 19 years old.
Wow.
So he did those road trips as a kid through the Rocky Mountains and through the desert, which back then doing a road trip was like a real adventure.
Yeah.
You were by yourself on this dirt road. And then when he was 12 years old, he did his first trip on the ship from Seattle through the Panama Canal to Washington, D.C.
Cool.
And then when he was 16, he did his first trip to Asia. And all of those was all on the ship.
The video didn't talk much about his father. Were there situations with that? Because I'm wondering, because that's a lot of traveling at a young age, and that takes some financial stability at least.
Okay, so his father, Harry Ross Hubbard,
Yeah.
he was a naval officer.
Oh,
So,
okay.
as a naval officer, he actually, for a short time, he was working in Montana as a journalist, his father. And then he got stationed in, then the family went to Seattle and his father was working in Seattle. Then the family had to move to DC and his father was working in DC. And then when Ron was 16, his father got stationed in Guam, which is over there. So the family went traveling in Asia and they stayed in Guam. He was sent home by himself. His parents stayed there because he had to go to school in the US. He was staying with his grandparents. After a year of school, he wanted to travel more, and that's when he did his second trip.
Cool.
And that was more by himself, just really exploring,
Yeah.
getting out there. And so being in Asia is where he saw a lot of the very spiritual philosophies, very like the ancient wisdom, but also right next to it, he saw all the poverty. So somehow it didn't make sense because there is a lot of knowledge and wisdom, but somehow it doesn't seem to help those normal people on the street who are dying of starvation. And that's what got him very curious to see of how can we have an applied philosophy, some knowledge that we can directly apply to our own life to really help those everyday problems. And then he went to Puerto Rico when he was 21. He went there a few times, but on this expedition specifically, he was surveying minerals, looking for gold and other minerals. And he went all across the island and was working very closely with the native people of Puerto Rico. So he learned Spanish and learned a lot about their superstitions and their beliefs. Later he actually wrote a novel that was inspired by his experiences in Puerto Rico. So of course all those travels gave him very good stories to write about.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's a lot of
And
inspiration.
Alaska in 1940. He was sailing there
model.
to test a new navigational system. You see, that's the sextant he was using. That's the tool to navigate with the stars.
Wow, cool.
That's still now, like usually they have one of these on the ship because if everything else fails, you still have the sextant.
Yeah.
But then
It's a
he was
reliable
testing a
tool.
new system working with radio waves.
Interesting.
1940.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just impressive.
And he was a pilot during his college time. So he was studying at George Washington University and joined the glider pilots club of the university. And so you see the glider pilot's license.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's vintage.
And then he was also writing articles about flying for the magazine. He was even a photographer. He would take photos of these like air meets or the events on the flying field, and he would sell those photos.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And then those are the pulp magazines he was writing for.
Wow, that's a lot.
Are you familiar with Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I am.
That's cool. Do you know where they have their name from?
The paper.
Yes. Have you ever read any of the stories?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm just familiar with the format.
That's awesome. Just because you're interested in history, or
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. So he started writing shortly after his college time, And he became a very well-known author because obviously he had all his own experiences to write really good stories. He was a very fast writer. He could literally, like, you needed a story by Monday, you could ask him on Friday and you would for sure get your story. And it was a good story. It was a story that was exciting, it was adventurous, it was very real because he had all his own experiences.
Yeah, he had a lot of inspiration.
Yes. So that is how he financed his further travels and expeditions. So during the 30s and 40s, he was primarily known as an author who would travel and go to different places and explore.
Yeah.
He also came to Hollywood to write one of his stories into a movie series, which became The Secret of Treasure Island for Columbia Pictures.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
And he spent a few weeks here to write that movie series. It was 15 episodes.
Yeah.
So you would go to the theater every week to continue the series.
That's cool.
Do you like science fiction?
A fair amount, yes.
That's awesome. So when you read books, what kind of books do you read?
Generally fiction, science fiction, or
Yeah.
philosophy,
Okay.
mainly.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Which
So-
seems to be a common theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you read some of the older science fiction, like Robert Heinlein, Ray Bradbury?
Not. I haven't. I've
like-
only read a few Ray Bradbury short stories, but not like.
Yeah, I've read
as long
short
as-
stories
yeah.
too.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about those early stories is that that's when science fiction really just started as a genre. And so, what happened was that the early science fiction stories were all these science, machine, robot stories, and it wasn't really interesting for most people. So the publishers of the Astounding Science Fiction magazine, they knew that they would have to create this more interesting, like more emotional, more human stories of science fiction. And they asked Ron and a few other writers to start writing science fiction. And all those writers had never written science fiction before, but they brought the human aspect into science fiction. Ron he had studied nuclear physics and engineering at university, but he had all his real life experiences, and that together is what made the really good science fiction stories.
Yeah.
And so he was writing a lot during that time period of the 30s and 40s, and then he returned to science fiction in 1980 with Battlefield Earth. Have you heard of that one?
That's the one that my friend read.
Ah, that's awesome.
Can I take a photo of this
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, that's a cool setup.
Yeah.
That's awesome, yes.
I forgot the name, but yeah, Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, it's a huge book. It's an amazing story.
These
he
are the
wrote-
original transcripts.
Yeah, that's the manuscript. The original title of it was actually here, Man the Endangered Species. And it was then published as Battlefield Earth, a saga of the year 3000. So in the year 3000, the human race is almost extinct. Johnny is one of the few remaining humans. And he gets captured by the aliens who have invaded the planet. So he's learning all about the knowledge and the technology of the aliens and then using that knowledge to fight the aliens and save his planet and really save the universe. So it's a great story. He wrote the book. We now also have an audiobook, and there was also a movie made out of the book. And then he actually also composed a soundtrack to the book called Space Jazz.
Cool.
So it's this very futuristic jazz.
I'll have to listen to that.
Now he wrote all those 10 books here.
Oh wow.
A series called Mission Earth, also science
Those are
fiction.
sick. Yeah.
So this is a science fiction satire.
Yeah.
So we have this whole science fiction story, but it's actually satiric about society, and that's where it's super interesting to read. Like he goes into all like pollution and how we're destroying our own environment and our own planet, into drugs, into corruption, into like the forming of opinions through media.
It's cool, and it's written from the perspective of the invaders, which is an interesting way to perceive Earth as.
It's actually really funny to read. Like you have
Yeah, I'm sure.
these two guys, they're the evil guys. They are the ones coming from another planet. There's also good people coming from another planet, and you kind of get both viewpoints. And like you have these good people, and they arrive on planet Earth, and like, what's going on here? Why are you doing
Yeah.
this? And then these evil guys, they're just the worst.
I've read some satires like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
I've read some like satire like that, like people coming into our culture and just being in shock of how we function. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a cool way to reframe it.
Yeah. But then these two, they're even worse than the humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
That
have
checks
both.
out also.
Yeah. So have you ever done writing yourself?
I write occasionally. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Have you ever published anything?
No.
Okay.
One day.
Hopefully in
maybe.
the future.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you write like science fiction?
If I want to.
Okay. Okay, so you're gonna check out this contest here, Writers of the Future.
Oh.
It was a contest started in 1983 to help new writers. Specifically, like the whole contest has this concept that no matter your name or how old or where you're from, the judges only read your stories. The only qualification point is that you have never been published professionally before. So if you've never been published before as a professional, you qualify, you can send in your stories, and then if you win, your story is published in a book.
Wow, that's super cool.
That's
I'll check that out.
Yes, you totally check it out. Even like when you win, you're gonna meet all the judges who are professional authors. Like, have you read the Dune series?
I am currently in the middle of it.
That's awesome. So Frank Herbert, he was one of the original founding judges of the contest.
Oh wow, that's
And
cool.
then his son Brian Herbert is still a judge in the contest now.
Cool.
And then the main winner gets this one here.
That is a nice
wow.
thing to
Yeah.
bring home.
Yeah, right? Would look good on your shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's some of the awards that he received as an author.
Oh. Cool.
So he actually got 4 Guinness World Records. He is the most published author in the world, the most translated author in the world. He also has a record as the author with the most audiobooks. And then for one of his books, which is the most translated non-religious book, which, as opposed to the Bible, is the most translated book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was like he did all this fiction writing and this traveling, but really always with this purpose of wanting to learn more about life itself and about who we are. So I want to show you a little bit how he first learned about the mind before he wrote Dianetics. Just so you understand, the word Dianetics itself, it comes from the Greek dia and nous, through the mind. So what the mind is doing to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've studied about Sigmund Freud already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Ron was 12 years old is when he was first introduced to that subject, traveling on the ship. That was this travel from Seattle to DC, where this naval officer, he had actually studied directly under Sigmund Freud in Austria, and he was teaching Ron about what he had learned. And that was his first introduction to the subject, which then got him very curious to learn more and see more.
Yeah.
And then traveling in Asia is where he learned a lot about the very spiritual culture. He met this Asian magician in China, he was this very, very wise old man from an old line of magicians from an old dynasty. So he had a lot of the ancient wisdom passed on through the generation. And it's a very different viewpoint. Do you have Asian in you?
No.
No?
No, but I
You
am
have, like,
I
the-
ask that a lot.
So my friend, she's from Taiwan.
Yeah, cool.
And so she always tells us, like, we have like sometimes like a lot of Mexican people, for example, they have the Chinese eyes.
Yeah, monolids. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're related.
Yeah.
So you're like American.
Yeah. Fully white in all ways possible.
Okay, so the thing is, there's like, it's a very different culture that you encountered, where like you take the US, and it's very materialistic, meaning giving all the power to the material world, and in Asia, it's all about your thought and what your mind can do, and the power of your mind and the power of your decision, and that is what he learned about. So he learned about Buddhism.
Are these all the same artist?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They're great.
Yeah. So he traveled and met different cultures and different beliefs. Also, what he saw there is, even though we have all these different cultures and different beliefs, we all have something in common. We're all human. We all want to improve, and we all want to do better. So he was studying physics and engineering. So are you gonna start your last year now, or?
No, I'm going into 12th.
Into
11th. Sorry.
11th.
Sorry.
So 12th year is the final.
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna. Okay. How old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, cool. And then do you know what you want to do when you're done?
Not really.
Okay.
I'll see when I get there.
Okay, me neither.
I understand. Most important is you find something that you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just cover all the bases.
Yes.
Just seems he did a good job of.
Yeah. So he kind of got this Western scientific understanding because he was studying science, but he also had the spiritual understanding from the East. He put those two things together, knowing that none of those really answered all his questions, but then let's bridge that gap and work with both of them. So he was writing to fund his research, also in Alaska, learning about the natives.
Cool. Alaska's so interesting.
Have you been there?
No, but I just studied it for a little.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very, I mean, I've seen photos that are just amazing.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. And then just living there, you have to be a survival artist. Like you have to know how to survive there.
Yeah. No, it's not easy. Nothing's provided.
Yeah, that's right. So he said there's one thing that every living being has in common. And that's really every human being, every plant, every animal, we all have the urge to survive. And that's the thing that keeps us going in life, to study and work and go through everything we go through in life. Is we want to improve our survival. That was his basic principle to understand more about life. He also uses that in Dianetics. Back then he wrote a manuscript which was never published because he was still learning more. And then in the Second World War he got injured. He was fighting in the Navy and he ended up in the hospital. So that is where he developed Dianetics as a therapy. Directly seeing how the physical treatment of the doctors doesn't always get a response.
Yeah, so it's like experimental stages started like with actual subjects, or
yeah, that was the first time when he actually did the therapy. He of course, like, he had his background of his research, and he had all his background of the
testing
Eastern, like the Eastern spiritual philosophies. So he had a lot of knowledge background, but that was when he first actually started working with people, really just talking to them.
Yeah, theory can only take you so far.
Yeah. So that was the development of the Dianetics therapy. Yeah. And so he himself fully recovered. He went in front of the Naval Retirement Board. If you're injured, you can retire. They couldn't believe that he had fully recovered, but he ended up not being able to retire.
What was his injury?
Hip injuries and eye injuries. He was actually partially
those are
blind.
Rough.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yes. So then from there, he was traveling around the US to do Dianetics with more people. Just working with different types of people. And he collected all his research and presented it to the medical field. They didn't appreciate it. You can imagine.
Yeah.
They having their authority, and I mean that's how they earned their money. That was their business of working with the body. Yeah. So they couldn't have a new person that then tells you that actually it's the mind.
Yeah.
I mean, Darwin was ridiculed.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we see it in history. Like every time there's like a new idea, at first it's attacked. Yeah. So he wrote Dianetics in 1950 for his friends, not just for the doctors, but really for anybody who wanted to learn more about them. And that's from where it became very popular. And it became a bestseller in 1950. Yeah. And we have it in over 50 different languages now.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Wow.
Do you speak any other languages?
I wish. No. How many languages did he speak?
So he spoke English and Spanish fluently, and then he did learn some of the native languages as he was traveling. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is the first edition from 1950.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's evolved a lot since.
It was at first it was published in a small psychology books publisher's house. The volcano became like a whole like a whole marketing campaign actually that was done in the 80s. A lot of people remember the book from that time period, where it was all over the TV with the volcano as a symbol for an adventure, for a new beginning. And now it's like so together, people know it as a book with the volcano. Yeah. But like that's how he describes it here. He says, "You're beginning an adventure, treat it as an adventure, and may you never be the same again."
Cool.
So I have a short video that's gonna explain a bit more what Dianetics is about. Okay. And you can see that in here.
Cool.
Do you know someone who has never fully recovered from a serious loss in life? Or a traumatic experience? And in your own day-to-day life, do you sometimes experience self-doubts, negative thoughts, unreasonable fears, upsets, or irrational behavior? The painful experiences of our past clearly have an effect upon our present behavior. But to what degree and why? What causes the mind to depart from rational thought or behavior? That is the subject of Dianetics. Every moment of your life, your mind is recording everything that's happening to you. Every sight, every sound, every taste, smell, pain, emotion, touch, everything. These recordings form what is called the time track, a consecutive record of all the experiences accumulated throughout your existence. Your mind uses this information to make decisions and solve problems relating to your survival. The better its decisions, the better you survive. Most of this data is stored in your analytical mind, that part of your mind that thinks, remembers, and calculates. But some of your experiences are not recorded into those analytical memory banks. It is the discovery of Dianetics that all of your painful experiences are stored in a previously unknown part of the mind. It's called the reactive mind, and it throws those experiences back at you in an irrational attempt to get you to avoid the same painful thing from happening to you again. Here's a simple and common example. At some point, you've probably gotten sick from eating tainted food. Later in life, if you see or smell or possibly even think about that particular food again, you start to feel a little nauseous. Now you know that logically, the mere sight or smell or thought of a food can't physically make your body ill, because you haven't actually eaten it again. And yet you're experiencing the same sick feeling you had before. This is your reactive mind, making you re-experience the same perceptions it recorded in that earlier incident, in a crude attempt to protect you from what it believes is a dangerous situation. It reacts solely on a stimulus-response basis and below your awareness. The painful experiences hidden in your reactive mind are the cause of your fears, insecurities, negative thoughts, unwanted emotions, and irrational behavior. You have been accumulating these deeply buried experiences throughout your existence. In fact, the most damaging among them occurred before you were born. What would life be like if all of the pain you've experienced no longer affected your abilities, emotions, and behavior? You would think and behave rationally, making the best possible decisions relating to your survival. You would be able to utilize your imagination and creativity to their fullest. You would be confident, more intelligent and productive and happier. You would be yourself, free to enjoy life and reach your full potential. In short, your mind would be clear. That is the goal of Dianetics. People achieve this state every day, and so can you. This video is a companion to the book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. The video is divided into sections, each building upon your understanding. You're going to learn how your negative experiences are stored and precisely how they affect you, without you knowing it. What's more, Dianetics contains a technology which enables you to locate these hidden incidents, restoring them to your full awareness as memories, freeing you from their negative effects. This video will show you exactly how to do this. But before learning this procedure, you'll need to understand a few things about the mind, and for that matter, life itself. For example, what is life doing? Well, look at a blade of grass that's forced its way up through the sidewalk. What's it doing? And what does this have to do with every living thing, including you? Well, you're about to find out.
About that.
What are we about to find out?
What do you think? What do you think the grass is doing?
Surviving.
That's right. And it's like we can even compare that to like our own life. Mm-hmm. We want to survive, and we're like growing through whatever obstacles that are in our way, and then people step on us, or something happens.
Yeah.
And then you get up again, and something happens, and you get up again. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the grass. Mm-hmm. But then also just like the grass, it is accumulating all these instances where people stepped on it, and eventually the grass will not grow anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like we accumulate this luggage of experiences that happen to us that can weigh us down. Yeah.
Is it like, you're probably going to get to this in a second, but is it like a physical form of therapy? Because I know there's like electrotherapy where there's like certain flashing lights that will bring back, well, the intention is to restore memory of a specific time.
Yeah.
Is it similar to that?
No. It's very much with you being in control of what is happening, in terms of nothing is being done to you. There's no use of drugs or hypnotism or anything else. But you yourself are aware of what's happening around you, and you return with some of your attention units. You return to past experiences. In the book, he explains it. But let's say, like, maybe you can recall something really good that you ate, and you can sit there again, and you can see what it looked like, that amazing food, and you were like, oh, this is so exciting, and you started eating, and you can taste again what you felt when you were eating it. And that's kind of what we do just with all those painful or unconscious experiences. You return to it, and you go through it, and you re-experience all the perceptions. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was Dianetics, where in the book, there's a whole part of the book that explains the therapy. So people started doing the therapy with friends or family, and they formed their own Dianetics groups. And then from there, he continued his research. So he then did more research and learned more about the mind and the therapy. And of course, because people now started doing the Dianetics therapy everywhere, a lot more feedback came in, and more observations. So from that, he learned more about the therapy. So then from there on, he did more books and lectures, and it became a whole movement. But that was the first book that still today applies. So I want to show you a bit more upstairs about what happened after. What was the reason for you that you want to go into like psychology or philosophy?
I have a lot of interest in the brain and its destructive tendencies, like I was talking about, like mental health and such, and methods of coping with that. I know a few forms of therapy, so I'm interested in this one. Because I mean, it seems to tie into a lot of like just basic psychology ideas, like exposure therapy and triggers and such. Yeah.
So what is it like? You said you have interest in just understanding, or do you want to do therapy yourself, or?
Not sure yet. I used to have interest in being a therapist. Not so sure anymore, but the science of it still intrigues me. I don't know about the person level, but yeah.
Okay. Why?
Because I only know how my brain works, and I want to know how other people's do.
Okay. I understand. Yeah.
It's
It's an extremely, like, in the book itself, you actually understand a lot about human reactions and emotions, and like sometimes you yourself, sometimes you have an emotion and you don't know where that's coming from now, because it doesn't really make sense with everything happening around you at that point. Or a person reacts a certain way every time something happens. That's this trigger where like something happened in the mind and they react.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see him here giving lectures and courses after the book came out. He actually gave his first public lecture in his own house, because people would just knock on his door. And then from there he was traveling around the US and around the world to give his lectures, and he recorded all his lectures with those recording machines. That was a very smart move, because that way now we still have all those recorded lectures. You see here the archives?
Oh wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Over 3,000 recorded
That's
lectures.
intense.
So that is all the original tapes, it's all the reel-to-reel tapes that we now also have all in digital form, so we can actually listen to them. So those boxes have CDs inside. Each box is like a whole series of lectures about a certain subject, and you see how it basically, that's like the chronological sequence of the basic research, with Dianetics here, and then everything that came after. So there was more research about the mind and about the therapy. Like there's a whole thing here called self-analysis. Dianetics, you do it with another person. Self-analysis is something you can do by yourself. And so from there it developed But he also actually discovered that we're not just dealing with the mind itself only, we're dealing with you as a spiritual being. And that's when it entered this religious realm, the spiritual area. That was the beginning of Scientology, which is a religious philosophy. So that started in this lecture in 1952. So now, how about you yourself? Are you religious or spiritual?
Not necessarily, no. But I have interest in religions and spiritualities.
So, but if you were asked, who do you think you are? Meaning, do you think you're a body or a mind or a spirit? What do you think?
I'd say that I am, as far as my physical form will take me. I think that a lot of mentality and I don't know, just the individuality is built off of the experiences of the body.
Okay.
So basically just experience and yeah.
Okay, good. How about you?
I think I'm a little more spiritual than you.
Probably. Yeah.
I think like it's consciousness and there's definitely something more to this realm, I guess.
Yeah. So so on this subject, there's nobody can enforce something on you. And that's extremely important in Scientology.
Yeah.
That's like one of the first things that we learn is about personal integrity, which says what is true for you is what you have observed yourself, and when you lose that, you have lost everything. So he actually says nothing in Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it, and it is true according to your observation. That is all.
That is a thought that we have in common.
So in the end, you have to observe it yourself. So we have people of different beliefs and different religions in Scientology. Scientology is the study of knowledge, meaning you learn knowledge about yourself, you apply it, you will see if it works, you will see how it applies to yourself or not. And that's where like we have those churches of Scientology that they're open every day, people go in there, you kind of have your own schedule and you can do courses. And that's what happens inside those churches.
So it's more of like an educational thing and less of like a lecture? Or is it like a church setting?
Well, so we do have Sunday service, but besides that, throughout the week, they're open every single day. And people would go in there and they do the courses where you study actually for yourself. Just to give you an example of how that works. Okay, so that would be like a course that people do. When you do the course, you actually get that as a course pack that has all your materials inside. And so as part of that course, you have a course check sheet that contains everything you're going to do as part of the course, where like you study for yourself. So you read something, you have an assignment, essay, it's all about like you read and then you work out how you can apply it to your own life. And then like in this one specifically, for example, it's about overcoming ups and downs in life. So you learn 2 types of people. What types of people are there? You learn something. This is an article by Hubbard.
What's that differentiation? Is it good and evil? Well, I've just seen that. I skimmed it and I just saw those words a couple times.
Well, what do you think?
Personally, or I guess.
What do you personally think?
I do not think that good and evil is a quantifiable simplification. I think that nothing is 2 sides.
That's a very, very smart statement. Yes, it's not like there's no.
Yeah. I mean,
right
obviously there's a scale.
There's a gradient scale. Yeah. But there are. He actually goes into the antisocial personality, which would be that person who doesn't want others to succeed, who's trying to pull them down because they're actually just afraid of them. And they if you associate with such a person, you tend to get ill more often, or you tend to have failures more often, because this person is constantly going to tell you, sometimes in a very good and in a very hidden way, that you're not good enough, or you shouldn't do that, or is going to try to inhibit you. Make sense?
Yes.
So there are some, maybe you've experienced people like that before.
Yeah.
So that's that That's the antisocial personality. There's certain characteristics we can use to recognize them. Of course, if we only use that, we can find them in everybody probably, because everybody has their moments where they...
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so that's why...
Again, the scale, yeah.
That's why, yeah, it's a scale. And that's why we also have the social personality. Somewhere in here, there's a whole article about the social personality, where you learn about what's the social personality. How do we recognize them? So you can really see, okay, maybe sometimes they were in stress and they said something they shouldn't have said, and they said something that was more antisocial, but actually it's a social personality.
Is it viewed as like personality characteristics, or like is it like a label for the person as a whole? Because I mean, I saw the list of attributes, but I'm wondering if you like hit a certain amount of those, are you by definition an antisocial or a social person?
Okay, so here, just to give you some examples. So they speak in very broad generalities. It's like they all hated the show, or nobody wanted to come.
Like black and white.
Yeah. Then such a person deals mainly in bad news. And then they alter communication to make it worse. They usually select the wrong target, meaning if they mess something up in whatever in some exam, they're gonna be angry about their friend for no reason. So it's different characteristics, and you can go through them.
Yeah.
And then you can go through the social personality characteristics, and then you can, based on like what is more prevalent, you can see which one applies more. Now there's one thing in here.
And is that still tied to Dianetics? Like, can the antisocial personality be trumped with the therapy?
It's a very good question.
Or is it like an innate thing?
It's every person, man is basically good.
Okay.
They even those antisocial people, they are basically good.
Cool.
And they have a basic good purpose, but something happened along the way.
So experience driven.
So it can be the good can be restored. Yeah. So one thing, I don't know where it's in this course right now, but one thing actually that he says, just to give you an example, is like if you actually have spotted yourself in all the antisocial characteristics, and you're like, oh, I'm antisocial because I'm doing those things, you're not, because
you're self-aware.
You're self-aware. The antisocial personality is actually not critical.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's just like an example.
Yeah.
Which it's actually like that is, it's called overcoming ups and downs in life, because such a person who is around an antisocial social personality, they're doing really well, but as soon as they are doing well, somebody's gonna try to push them down. And then they're doing well again, and somebody's trying to push them down. Yeah. But it's like, you see, it's all kinds of different subjects.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. Like, what is the thing for yourself? What is the thing that you want to improve in your life or learn more about?
Well, I'd like to delve more into possible interests, which is something I envy that he did. A lot of exploration.
Just like being active in like different. Okay. Like what? Sorry, what kind of things is that?
I don't know. Like as I'm in college and looking at majors and stuff, I have to make some decisions.
Okay.
And there are a lot of motives for many paths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, understand.
I struggle with motivation, and I see that book right there, how to get motivated.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's a very good one actually. What is it that you struggle with when you try to motivate yourself? Like,
it's just kind of like a block. It's
that's a cool drawing.
It's just kind of like a block when I'm like I'm gonna do this, and then I just never get around to it. You know?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so there's different things we learn in here. This is like a compilation of different works by Hubbard, right? One of them is the 5 ways to address a problem. We actually call it the Black Panther mechanism. Let's say you're trying to go up the stairs in your house. You try to go up the stairs to get to your bedroom, and there's a Black Panther sitting on your stairs. What are you gonna do about it? It's a problem, right?
Yeah, it's definitely an issue.
Okay, so you can go attack the Black Panther. You can run out of the house and flee the Black Panther. You can use the back stairs and avoid the Black Panther. You can neglect the Black Panther, so you can just act as if it wasn't there. Or you can succumb to the Black Panther and get ready to be eaten. Right? So those are the 5 mechanisms.
So it's like almost synonymous to like fight, flight.
Some extra ones.
Yeah, some extra ones. A few more.
Yeah. It's like you have a problem, what are you going to do about it? Now the thing is, which one do you think is the best one?
Attack?
Well, I'd say in the case of a wild animal, you flee and then, but I don't think that's the end. I think that there's an addition to that. And neither of these are like the end result. Like, even if you attack, there's something that happens after that. It's the same with any of them. So if you flee, you could call for help. If you attack, you could war. like that's just, it's a response. It's not the absolute.
Yeah. Well, in the case of the Black Panther, you could probably go and find somebody who can fight a Black Panther. And
call animal control.
Get a person to help. So that would also go under attack, right? It would be just a more prepared attack rather than just running towards the Black Panther. But that is, that's really the only one that will actually address the problem.
Yeah.
All the other ones, the problem is still there. The Black Panther is still sitting there.
Yeah.
And that's like on anything in life. Like, we have a lot of ways of like trying to ignore something or trying to avoid something. It still is there.
Yeah.
And then being able to confront something, being able to really face something and look at it and be comfortable with it, not trying to avoid or run away from it. That's an ability that we learn a lot in Scientology, because it's about being able to really face your environment and other people and what's happening around you and be more aware of everything. And then how to handle work. How do you get a lot of work done? That's like written by somebody who's
done a lot of work.
Yeah,
I trust that.
Yeah, this is actually that's what he says.
Yeah, no, that's probably exactly right.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do something.
Yeah. So this is like a whole course about this subject. There's another one that I always recommend on like motivating yourself is what is the thing that you want to accomplish? I'm sure there's different ones, but what's the first thing that comes to
the next semester is coming up, and I want to get hopefully get better grades than I did last year.
Okay, good. So that's a good goal. So this one is about targets and goals, where he basically worked on this administrative scale, which covers all the things that you need, and you need to align them all towards your goal. So that's like you just named your goal, right? So you have your goal. What's the purpose of your goal? You want to know your purpose, so you really know why you're doing that. And then you can work out your plans and programs and projects, which is the exact steps you're going to take. You can actually work out what am I going to do to really arrive at that goal. Measure your statistics. It's very easy on grades.
Yeah.
What's your ideal scene?
What do you mean?
The ideal scene would be a scene or area, a scene or area ought to be. What it
Visualizing the goal.
Visualizing,
I see. Okay.
Like maybe you've seen somebody who's really really good in school and very smart and very capable of applying everything they learn. So that would be your ideal scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something you can visualize for yourself. You can work it out for yourself. And then you want to have some valuable final product. It could be the grades. It could also be you being prepared for going to college and like actually being able to study anything you want in college. Yeah. So that's like you work it all out in that, align it all in one direction. Because what happens is that a lot of times you have distractions, you have other things happening, and you kind of get dispersed, and you never actually work on that goal. That's where you have the scale, align it all together, and then you work out how to make those plans and programs.
I see.
How to write the program targets. So it's really for doing it, not just thinking about it. Yeah.
What's interesting is like, I don't know, I'd connect most of this to psychology more so than religion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it expands past just psychology because of the mass amounts of like literary works on it. Like it becomes a like an everyday practice instead of just like one self-help book. There's like a step-by-step guide through all of the options. Is that where it like crosses the line between just like theories and religion?
Or philosophy.
So
a way to live.
So we call it an applied religious philosophy. So it is applied. It's literally applicable to life, to everyday life. It is different to psychology. So psychology, the issue is that there's different theories and different ideas. And so we don't want to confuse it with psychology because there are different theories and different ideas. A lot of psychology really mainly deals with the brain. Scientology doesn't deal with the brain. It deals with you as a spiritual being. So that's a big difference.
Yes.
So it's right. So it's addressing you as a spiritual being. You as a spiritual being, keep your own reality, you have a lot of abilities, you have a lot of knowledge, but sometimes you invalidate yourself, or you forgot about some of the things that you can do, and you inhibit yourself. So it's to help you regain your own abilities and your own knowledge. Yeah. That's where it's different. It's its own subject.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Not about this. No.
Okay. So when you came here, like what is it that you've heard of Scientology before you came here?
Not much. Tom Cruise.
That's
it.
I feel like that's how a lot of people know about it.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
have you heard of this before?
No, what is it?
It's called an e-meter. It's a tool that measures the energy of your thought. This itself doesn't cure or change a person, but it actually measures your thought, the thought of the energy of your thought. So when you hold those cans, it is sending a tiny current of electricity through the body. So tiny you don't feel it, but when you think of something, that thought contains energy, and that energy of the thought causes a change of the energy here. And we can see it here in the needle reaction. So by itself it doesn't do anything, but used by a trained practitioner who knows how to read it, he can actually use it to guide you and help you find certain thoughts or find certain experiences in your mind, to therefore guide you to find your own solutions from it. That's the basic principle of it. If you want to, you can try it.
Yeah, cool. And it's charged through touch?
It actually, there is energy. It has a battery and there's energy going through it. It's super tiny. If you don't mind taking off the ring.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That probably interferes, right? Yeah.
If they come out.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Oh, in theory. Check.
That's right.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah. So how do you two know each other?
Yeah.
Oh, you're siblings. Oh, that's cool. Do you have more?
No, it's just us.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just hold it comfortably in your
just
hands.
like that.
Yeah.
And so generally when this is done, would I be like asked questions?
That's right.
Yeah.
Usually you would sit on the other side so you don't get distracted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
just for the purposes of seeing
exactly,
how it
just
works.
for the purposes of the demonstration, we're going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to set the needle.
And you know how to read this, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Cool.
You just hold it comfortably in your hands.
Yeah.
Okay, now think of something that is causing you stress. Yeah, that one. Okay, good.
Yeah, well that happened fast. Look at that shit.
Okay, what were you thinking of?
My ex.
Okay, I understand.
That's funny.
Okay, cool. You want to try it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to set the needle. Now think of something that is causing you stress.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
I'm an especially stressed out person.
Yeah, that one here.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I don't want to get into it. It's kind of.
You don't have to, not a problem.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. So this itself doesn't evaluate your life. But it actually, like, let's say, I don't know what area of your life you have to address because every person is different.
Yeah.
So I can ask you certain questions. I can see the reaction on the e-meter. And based on that, I know where to ask more questions and therefore know how to guide you to help you finding those things in your own mind.
Yes.
And that's the whole principle, is help guide you so you find your own solutions.
Yeah.
So in Scientology, that's again what is very important. We don't tell you what is right or wrong. We don't tell you how to solve your problems.
Just tell you what it is.
Guide you so you find your own solutions.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the e-meter. This is what is in use today. And like in every church of Scientology, actually people can do a course on how to use the e-meter, and they also receive the spiritual counseling.
Yeah.
Which is just so much more precise than anything else because it's really addressing you with what's happening in your own mind.
Does it function similarly to like a lie detector test?
It is different. So a lie detector measures. You're very clean people.
Yes.
Try to be.
It's like you meet different people, but it's it kind of it's like a new awareness that we've had in the last few years.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, so a lie detector measures your sweat and your heartbeat, whereas this just measures energy, electricity, or electrical resistance, really.
Okay.
That's what's being measured. So we measure something else. It also doesn't necessarily show your lies, because let's say I could ask you, did you kill your cat? And you would be upset about the thought of your cat being killed.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yes. So emotional reactions.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like void conf test in Blade Runner.
Yes.
What's that?
It's like in Blade Runner, or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Philip K. Dick.
Blade Runner. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
You should.
I'm
You should.
trying to go. Yeah.
It's a great movie, and the book it's based off of is also really good.
Okay. Nice. So they have a machine like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see the first e-meter over there.
Ah.
So this is from 1951.
Wow.
So that was 1 year after Dianetics came out. And then 52, 53.
Interesting. And they changed the names too.
Yeah. The earlier ones were built by a person called Volney Matheson.
Okay.
Yeah. And they at some point became too complicated to really be used. So
What
they
was
stopped
that
being
one
used.
created for? The original one?
So it was used in Dianetics.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it was a Scientologist that created it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was a Dianeticist at that time. It was all before.
Ah, okay.
It was even before Scientology.
Oh, is that what it was called before? Like
Yeah.
Dianeticism? Cool.
It was Dianetics, and then a Dianeticist would be somebody applying Dianetics.
Yep. That's interesting.
Yeah.
When did the term Scientology become coined?
1952 is when Scientology started as a term.
And was it because the book was just written after Dianetics?
Because basically, if
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah, the whole
Just show you
time
over
frame,
here.
yeah.
So all of this was about the subject of the mind. So it was still the subject of Dianetics. And then it became more and more apparent that really we're not just dealing with the mind, we're dealing with the spiritual being. So he then gave it a new name because it didn't fit into the definition of Dianetics. It was more than that.
Yeah.
So then Scientology started to describe the whole philosophy.
Yeah.
So it's still now, we have the two subjects of Dianetics and Scientology. And we apply Dianetics in Scientology, but Scientology is its own subject.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I understand. That makes sense.
Okay, good. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the e-meters that were used throughout time.
Cool.
Yeah, the design.
Yeah, the designs are cool. I know, I really like
Yeah.
those ones.
Yeah. From when I was younger, I remember the dark blue one.
Ah, cool.
That was in use up until 2013.
Yeah, and that's pretty
What's different?
simple.
Just the designs? Or
Inside, actually, I mean, this is the first fully digital e-meter.
Mm-hmm.
So like, even like when I move this, it has laser precision. It's actually measured with a laser. So that's just it becomes much more.
Was it
precise.
always like the cans?
It was always cans.
Mhm.
Yeah. At some point, people would just use like food cans or anything.
Mhm.
Like,
They're just
like
metal?
Electrode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
metal. I mean
Cool.
that they have been standardized, so we know they work the same on every
Mhm.
single
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have any other arbitraries added to it, but it's really just
Mhm.
we know it works and we can work with it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna go back downstairs.
okay.
So what else are you gonna do today in Hollywood?
We were
Oh.
gonna go
Yeah,
across
we're
the
gonna
street
go-
to.
And then after that, we're going
Ah.
to get food with
probably.
a couple friends, probably.
Oh, nice. So do you, as siblings, do you spend a lot of time together?
Yeah,
Yeah,
decent amount.
That's awesome.
we have a good relationship.
That's very good.
Yeah.
I think I don't see it a lot on, I think, younger siblings that they,
You know, it's definitely less common
yeah,
now. Yeah.
but it's great.
Yeah, it is. I am grateful for it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so we spoke about the drug.
Drugs, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yes. Now, have you ever gone into drugs or drug research or something?
Yeah, a fair amount.
No,
To
not
what degree?
me. Not really.
Not really.
I like researching.
Okay, so what
drugs.
have you looked into?
Just mostly like street drugs and not a lot of actual like prescriptions.
Okay. So which one have you tried? Many of them, or
I've tried marijuana.
okay. And on the other ones, it was just kind of like research.
Yeah,
or?
more research.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
This,
I'm clean.
you're clean. Okay.
What are his theories about marijuana?
Yeah. Well, what is your idea about it, or what's your thought about it?
I think that although it's a mind-altering substance, I wouldn't necessarily like fit it in the drug category as the rest of these, because it's a natural substance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering his theories about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the thing on that is that like there are poisons in nature.
Yes. Yeah.
And they can kill you.
Hemlock.
And just because they're from nature, it doesn't mean that they're harmless.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will kill you.
It just seems like a lot of what he's doing is like actually tested and the more chemical based.
It's well, it was
Or at
all
least
the
how it's
different chemicals
done
like,
through.
Yeah, I
this,
mean, yeah, like we see all the different
so It's
chemicals.
the syringe
This is
and
this
the
is pretty
mask
cool.
and
Can
yeah,
I
it's a
take
cool
a photo
picture.
of this.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the society that we live on.
Yeah.
To live in today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is why he developed the purification
Yes,
program. Which
chemicals.
is
That's what I. Yeah. That's what I meant. Because marijuana
Oh,
isn't.
because marijuana is not a chemical.
Yes. That's yeah.
Okay. You look for yourself.
Mhm.
But the thing that I can tell you is that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, the marijuana of today is very different to the marijuana of
Absolutely. Yeah.
like 1970s. So that's the first
Mm-hmm.
big difference. There was actually a lot of chemical work being done to make the marijuana as we have it today, and make it as potent as it is today.
Mhm.
It's the process of that. I mean, you're not like a weed manufacturer. I don't expect you to know that. But
Of how that is made,
yeah, I mean, that's I don't know if you know, but
I couldn't tell you exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know more, but what I do know is that like there's definitely like manufacturing work being done to like actually make that marijuana and make sure it has as much it has the amount of THC that it has today, which it didn't used to have.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then even, I mean, I don't know if I'm from Germany originally.
Mhm. Oh
So
yeah.
I've
That's
been here.
okay. Cool.
I've been here for 5 years, and when I first arrived here, I was shocked about seeing the billboards that would promote marijuana for like, depending on what mood you want to attain, you can try different marijuana, because like there is a lot of work being done to make that marijuana that way.
Mhm.
That's,
Yeah, yeah.
That's where it's not natural.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's again, we have this like society very dependent on the chemicals, whereas anything you are trying to accomplish with drugs, you can accomplish within yourself. Like if you try to accomplish like a state of relaxation or a
Yeah.
state of feeling good or feeling happy, that is part of you. That's something you can attain without the drugs. And that's our standpoint.
So yeah. So it's more on like a coping, like level, like the way that drugs are viewed in Scientology is like. You mentioned like relaxing. So like there's leisure and then there's coping, and because Scientology is mostly like dealing with brain processes.
Scientology is not about the brain.
It's not about the brain.
Oh, not about the brain, but like the mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, give me the question.
It's less of a question, more of just trying to sort it out in my head. Yeah, never mind.
Okay, so you look for yourself in the book. Dianetics, he actually mentions like that. That's how early on he started seeing what even alcohol.
Yeah.
If you are drunk, anything that happens while you're drunk actually is recorded in your reactive mind,
Oh.
and that is what will later.
Is that altered in your reactive mind?
Well, what happens is that if you are drunk, you're not fully aware. So your reactive mind turns on and records anything that happens. Later, you have a similar situation. Maybe you're not drunk, but you have a similar sensation to that past time you were drunk. And that actually inhibits your own abilities and your own awareness. Because let's say you have, whatever, let's say you're driving. You just have something similar, somebody says something similar. It re-stimulates what happened in the past when you were drunk. And suddenly you feel that way, or you feel nauseous, or whatever.
Interesting, yeah.
And that is very reactive and irrational. It doesn't make sense. And that's what drugs can do. So as early as Dianetics, he already goes into what the drugs do to your mind. That's where you look for yourself. The other thing that we do is drug education, because like it's a big issue here. Like there's a lot of marketing. Like even you watch movies or you listen to music, and there's marketing for drugs, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, if we can educate the people about what the drugs do, just what are they, what do they do, so they can make their own smart decisions. It's a totally non-religious program, but it's supported by Scientology because we want to do something about what is happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
fair.
So you'll look for yourself, and if you read Dianetics, you will see more what he's talking about with the drugs.
It's a cool room.
And, yes. And then the other thing that he looked very much into was education. So the world is out of communication. I mean, with drugs, with TV, and now obviously we have YouTube and TikTok. We have all these things that actually decrease your attention span and your ability to communicate. And so one of the things is illiteracy.
Yeah.
It's even
I was reading that bottom part. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, let's say it's almost like the hidden illiteracy. Where we have people who are able to read, but are they able to actually read and understand and apply what they're reading?
Like critically.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually think with the subject.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So he worked out, or he codified these 3 barriers to study that we can recognize and we can deal with, like we can know what to do about them. For example, the most important one is the misunderstood word. That's when you read a page and you don't remember what you just read. That is because earlier there was a word you didn't understand. So there's actually like a whole course called Key to Life course on understanding grammar and all the small common words. So you have like a basic understanding of language itself. This, like, it was all by L. Hubbard. I know a person, she went through that course. She was basically illiterate. And she did that course, and that totally restored her ability to study. And after that, she's been studying these like huge books about management and organization, and she's been studying like huge libraries. Yeah. And that just restored her ability because it's the understanding of language. So then he wrote a book called The Way to Happiness in 1981. It's a non-religious moral code, and he wrote it because he saw how common sense has been going down in society. So it's just common sense values. Each one of those here is a chapter in the book.
I see the thing about promiscuity. Is there talk about that in like? I mean, what are the views on relationships?
Well, what does promiscuous mean?
Well, the implication is being with multiple people in like periods of time, generally short periods of time.
In a short period of time, yeah. That's so in there. It just goes into like be faithful to your partner, meaning you have a relationship and you are faithful to that relationship. If you break up, you start a new relationship, that's fine, but you want to finish cycle of action. Like you want to finish that cycle and then start a new one. Don't have several at the same time. Make sense?
And he was a government-based person. Like
And
you,
when-
don't do anything illegal.
Okay, so the thing is, if we also have this one here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is that if you do illegal things, you know you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. You're doing something against the law, and you actually start to withdraw from the law or from your own community because you know you've been doing things that if people would find out, that might have consequences for you. So
And it also desensitizes you.
Yeah.
it desensitizes you and makes you withdraw and makes you less wanting to contribute to your group. It is your group.
Yeah.
Like your country or your community, that is your group, and if you're doing something against the laws, that inhibits your own
Yeah, absolutely.
ability to be part of that group. Yeah. Like we have this book we have in over 100 different languages now, and we have programs around the world. This is in Los Angeles. We have those peace rides every month.
Cool.
It's actually amazing. The manager of the museum here, she's a board member of the United in Peace Foundation who put
That's
that
so
up.
funny. I don't know how I didn't know about that. I guess I just didn't go out those days.
Yeah. And then we have like programs in prisons with different schools, even different churches using that because it's just a non-religious moral code.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And now here we see all his works. So we have all the fiction and all the philosophy. And that's now all the books and lectures and courses. Like that's all the books and lectures in chronological sequence.
It's expensive.
And then all of this is about studying and education for different age groups.
Is there like an education model within the church?
So there are schools, they're secular, meaning they're not teaching you the religion,
Yes.
but they're using Aaron Hubbard's educational know-how. And that's actual schools that are based on his research and education.
And those are schools that are separate from the church?
It's separate from the church, and so far as like I know a lot of Scientologists who went to those those schools, but it's not like you learn about the church in there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So one thing that they do a lot is a lot of learning, like with application, like practicals and field trips and things that require you doing this, and then a lot of learning at your own pace. Where like, if you remember the check sheet that we have in the courses, similar concept. They have a check sheet and they go through.
Yeah. I see how that's educational. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is just like his work that he did.
Yeah.
And now here we're gonna see some of the awards that he received for all his work, which is all the knowledge, the drug rehab programs, human rights programs, programs with the way to happiness, about education, like all the different work that he did in different areas of life. We're gonna see how it affected a lot of people.
And those are all functional through programs and not like missionaries or anything like that.
It's like programs anybody can apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And we have a short excerpt from a lecture, so you're gonna hear.
For many, many, many centuries, man has desired to know how to change the mind and condition of himself and his fellows. Actually, man hadn't accumulated enough information to do this up to relatively few years ago. And yet the answer has been with man all the time. Man has been able to reach out and find this answer. But perhaps man himself had to change. Perhaps he had to come up into modern times to find out that the physical universe was not composed of demons and ghosts, to outlive his superstitions, to outlive the ignorance of his forebears. Perhaps he had to do everything, including invent the atom bomb, before he could find himself. Well, he has pretty well mastered the physical universe now. The physical universe is to him now rather a pawn. He can do many things with it. And, having conquered that, he can now conquer himself. The truth of the matter is, he has conquered himself. The science of Scientology came about because of man's increased knowledge of energy. Man became possessed of more information about energy than he had ever had before in all of his history. And amongst that, he came into possession of information about the energy which is his own mind. The body is an energy mechanism. Naturally, a person who cannot handle energy could not handle a body. He would be tired, he would be upset, he'd be unhappy. As he looks all around him, he finds nothing but energy. If he knew a great deal about energy, particularly the energy of himself, the energy that made him think, the energy that was himself, and the space which surrounded him, he, of course, would know himself. And that, in the final essence, has been his goal for many thousands of years, to know himself. Scientology has made it possible for him to do so.
Cool. Wow. Cool.
So that was from a lecture in 1954 in Phoenix, Arizona. And that is just some of the awards that he received. Like that's from the Blackfeet.
How many awards has he received? Is there like, I don't know if that's even possible to count that.
So in total it's over 6,000.
Jesus.
And still counting, meaning we still get more because we still work with all his
And they go to his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. He mentioned, I mean, like how we got to this point. What are his theories about evolution?
What are his theories about evolution?
I don't know if that's even something he discussed.
In what regard? Like what?
Human evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the science of it.
I don't have any specific answer
Yeah.
for you on that. Like meaning.
Yeah.
It's not like that's
I'm sure he didn't write a lot about science.
I mean, you're a spirit. You have been here before. You will be here after this life. But,
So is there like a sense of reincarnation?
I mean, we have past lives.
Yeah. So I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. We don't necessarily call it reincarnation. It's a very
Because
Buddhist,
that's a different
it's a Buddhist term,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But it is like you as a spirit, you are immortal. Your body dies, but you will not die.
Yeah. Where did the spirits originate from?
I think that's something that you discover for yourself. There's no, that's where it's not there's no special belief, and this is what we believe in Scientology, but that's something you understand for yourself.
Okay.
As you understand more about yourself and about life, you will discover more about your own background.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't.
You covered it all?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what did you like the most about the tour?
I thought, I mean,
It was interactive.
yeah, I thought all of it was
Yeah.
pretty interesting and really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
It's pretty captivating.
Yeah.
So do you want to have a look at the Dianetics book?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So now I have to ask you, are you from the same parents?
Yes.
Yes.
So
we
you're
look like-
totally like
Is it there? Would you be able to guess?
Like
We
that.
didn't tell you.
I wouldn't have guessed it.
That's fine. We've never really looked similar.
Like because you have the Asian eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
And you don't.
No, I don't.
No.
And you have like yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Dianetics.
Wow, that's thick. Cool. How's it split up?
Here. There's
Yeah, you probably know it.
there you go. It's three books.
Okay.
So the first one it's called The Goal of Man.
Yes.
Then the second one is all about the mind, the analytical mind, the reactive mind, demons. It's like sometimes you have a voice in your head.
This way's in quotes.
Yeah. And then the therapy.
Cool. That's interesting.
What's this right here?
Yeah, that's
Hello.
what I was wondering too.
So every book that we have
I
has
see.
a glossary
Okay.
because we want to
That
make
makes
sure
sense.
you understand what you're reading.
Yeah, because as it said earlier, the what was it?
This is helpful.
Like the misread word.
The,
and
the misunderstood
Yeah,
word,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Look at this.
Yes. This is, remember the grass?
Yeah.
So that's like how a person goes through life. And there's like, something
is there like a
for your
peak?
survival.
Uh-huh.
I mean, every person is different, right? This is just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
kind of
this is
show how like
generalization.
what happens and something happens and like you
So it's
constantly
through
push
decades.
for better survival
Yeah.
and then something happens to you and then, yeah.
Oh, there's even. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then like you can even see, let's say, like when the grandchild is born, the person is probably doing better
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, yeah.
And then going down again. Like it's a constant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And very experience based,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. That's right.
Survival suppressor. Interesting.
Yeah. And then in there, you will also like there's a whole thing. Okay, there's a whole thing about alcohol. I- There's a whole thing about
Don't-
drugs. He definitely takes up hypnosis as, I mean, that's something that was
Yes.
a very common form of therapy
Yeah,
during
yeah.
that time period. But again,
Can I see the book?
hypnotism actually is what lowers your awareness.
Uh-huh.
So we want to increase your awareness. So Dianetics does not include hypnotism. But he talks about it as part
That's
of his
interesting.
research.
Fetishes is well, that something came out wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like there's a whole thing, like there's a whole part about love and like there's the reactive type of love or the
Yeah.
yeah.
Syphilis as a chapter.
Cool.
How many of these have you read?
I mean, I have like all of these books. I've read them all.
Cool.
Yeah. You should read it.
No, I
Yeah, I
definitely
want
have
to.
interest in it. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you should get it today.
Oh, I forgot my wallet at home.
Oh, really?
I'll order it online though. I'll order it online.
That's
Yeah.
a good idea. They're online, right?
Yeah.
And how much are they?
This is $25.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Are you gonna share?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, we
so you're
would.
gonna get one together?
Yeah, probably. We'll talk to. Yeah, we'll figure that out. But I definitely have interest in reading it and
Yeah.
looking into it more.
Yeah. The other one that I did want to recommend is this is the one on studying, which is important for both of you.
Yeah.
Because you're both studying.
Yeah.
Those little ones. They're $5.
Oh, cool.
This is that's how we can feel sometimes when we study.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's a pretty good illustration.
So this is covering the 3 barriers of study and like things that we can do about it. Like one of the things we actually do, like in Scientology course rooms, we put something in clay. If we have like a concept that's a lot of theory, so you have something in front of you that you can
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool. I like that. I like clay.
yeah. Or even like just take like little objects that you have in your drawer and just
Yeah.
like
I mean,
try
it
to-
encourages art, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. It's a good way to make your thoughts tangible.
yeah, that's right. And then clearing words. And there's even different methods when like you study something and you feel like you have difficulties at a certain point. How do you find out where the difficulties are so you can resolve that? And this is like it's a workbook. So in the back it has the practical exercises because it's for your application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them are like that, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You should get it.
No, I will also consider that.
Is this online as well?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll do it all there because.
Yeah.
I'll take a picture of this one because I know Dianetics. I don't know
Yes.
that. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Is that one? And then obviously the one that I showed you. This is also a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll look, at
I'll look
online.
into those.
Yes. And then if you like sci-fi,
definitely.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
yes. That's a bookmark. That's for Battle for that.
Cool. Yeah, I'll take this. Did
No,
you
this
move
book
here
definitely.
to like work here? Was
Yeah.
this your first job being here? Cool.
Yeah.
So
I came
yeah.
specifically to work here. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's my friend from Taiwan. Like we have
Ah.
literally, we're very international.
Yeah, that's cool.
Where are you from?
We're from here.
Cool.
Okay, did you know that we have a TV channel?
No, I did not know that.
Okay. You're gonna check it out.
Yeah, I will.
It has, if you scan this, you will get to the TV channel.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it on DirecTV, Roku, Apple TV.
Mainstream.
So yeah, there's like many ways to stream and to watch it, or you can download the app.
Yeah.
And then, okay, here, if you check out the websites, you, on the scientology.org, you check it out. You will have free online courses.
And I can buy Dianetics there.
And you can
Yep.
get Dianetics there. Exactly.
Thank you so much.
And,
You guys
okay.
here before?
No, we haven't been here before. That is why we had interest.
Your
in
eyes look like someone I know.
Oh.
I'm very random because I recognize people sometimes.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure you see a bunch of people a day.
And then another museum you will like going.
Oh,
I don't know if you've heard of that one before. That's
No.
on Sunset Boulevard. Are you familiar with psychiatry? I know we've been talking about psychology,
yes,
but how about
yes.
psychiatry?
Yes, I am.
To what degree?
Not as much as I am with psychology, but like a fair amount. I don't care about meds as much.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've researched into it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. You will like that one.
Yeah.
This is
Looks cool.
Psychiatry and Industry of Death.
Cool.
They make a lot of money selling those medications.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
They do.
And they've never cured anybody. They might have like put somebody like
It's
into a state
it's a
where
number. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. They've never cured anybody. So this is you will like it.
Cool.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah. That organization, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, was founded in the 60s by L. Ron Hubbard and a psychiatrist. That's the connection. It's because
Cool.
obviously there have been human rights violations in that field.
Yeah. Did he struggle with mental health? Because I mean, a lot of this is.
Or was he just curious?
Yeah.
about it?
I was just curious.
I think he just saw a lot.
Yeah, I'm
Meaning
sure.
seeing
Yeah, that's true.
Seeing a lot of poverty and seeing a lot how like things are not going right. There was his curiosity of like what can be done about it to make it better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But he never like even like he was in the Second World War. He was in the
Yeah,
he was
no,
he was
he
on
saw-
the front.
he saw a fair
He
amount,
saw
yeah.
things, but it even like his service record stated he didn't have any mental issues.
That's
He was-
interesting.
He was physically disabled.
Yeah.
But that
That's
that is
interesting.
what he could recover from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he seemed very well-rounded.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
I
very
appreciate
welcome.
all of this.
Yes. Come back anytime and let me know when you got the book. Even if you have any questions, the email is on the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Have a great one.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Bye. She told me I looked Asian twice. Twice. That's more than